And it was 1 year ago today when a helicopter crashed near Los Angeles, killing 9 passengers, including basketball legend Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna. NBA players and Kobe fans everywhere are paying tribute to Bryant on the 1-year anniversary of his death. Vanessa Bryant posted a letter on Instagram from one of Gianna's best friends who thanked Vanessa for raising an, quote, angel of a daughter, writing, "You did it right, Mrs. Bryant, and we are all eternally grateful to you." Joining us now for more on Kobe's impact and legacy is ABC News contributor LZ Granderson. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, LZ, we lost Kobe and Gianna and those 7 passengers on that helicopter just a year ago. What have we learned in the past year about Kobe's legacy and his impact?
Oh, wow. Well, we're still learning. We're still unearthing things as people come forward with their personal stories about Kobe, either what he did for them or the relationship that he had with someone. But I still believe that the most shocking revelation that has transpired over these past 12 months was really about how close he and Michael Jordan were. I was in Staples Center during the memorial. I was surrounded by other journalists who had covered Kobe for much of his career, such as I have, and we were all pretty shocked to learn that he and Michael Jordan were basically brothers. So often when we talk about sports athletes, greats in particular, in the NBA, we treat them as rivals, that they must hate one another in order to go after championships. But what Michael Jordan revealed was that there wasn't a rivalry between them. There was mutual respect and love. And so as we continue to hear from people who have played against Kobe, played with Kobe, or was just in his inner circle, I think we continue to peel back the onion. And that's the reason why he is such a fascinating person.
Yeah, we've learned so much about him and his relationships over the last year. We've also seen so many tributes over the past year. Last night, the Cleveland Cavaliers aired a tribute video, and Net star Kyrie Irving wore a Kobe jersey. There's also murals and paintings all around the world. What other ways have we seen players and fans honor his legacy, and what are you expecting to see today?
Well, today I definitely expect to see more of the same on social media. I know there's a documentary, you mentioned, a mural. I know there's been a recently released documentary just talking to the artists who felt compelled to do some of these murals around Los Angeles in particular, but obviously that's something that transpired around the world. You have to understand, the reason why Kobe meant so much to so many people wasn't simply because he was a great basketball player, though he was the best player of his class, and many consider the class of 1996 with Iverson and Ray Allen and Steve Nash to be one of the greatest of all time. And among those giants, Kobe was the greatest. But beyond that, he was also a child star made in Hollywood. Remember, he took Brandy, the famous pop singer and actress, to his prom when he was in high school. So he already came in with a certain amount of pop culture cachet, and then he goes to LA and he grows up in front of the world's eyes, the highs and the lows. We saw them all. And so we all know how we have an affinity and a love for child stars, especially when we get to watch them grow up. And I believe that's part of the reason why his story meant so much and the loss felt by so many.
Yeah, LZ, I think I have the teen magazine where Kobe and Brandy were in it at the prom together. I remember that vividly. The Lakers championship.
Absolutely.
The Lakers championship this year was in many ways fueled and inspired by Kobe. How did we see his influence in the game, what we saw on the basketball court this year?
You know, I've considered, and it's not simply because I'm a Laker fan, though in full disclosure, I am a Laker fan, but I believe this championship that the Lakers won was the most difficult championship in the history of the NBA. Because you have to first start with the unprecedented pandemic and the impact that it had on all sports leagues, but particularly the NBA, which required players at the restart to stay in a bubble, oftentimes away from their family and their support system and their routine. Athletes are creatures of habit, and the bubble forced them to break all of their habits. But then they had the added burden, that Lakers franchise, to win a championship for Kobe. And LeBron James and Anthony Davis were very close to Kobe Bryant. and they felt a responsibility to lift up this franchise, which hadn't won a championship since last Kobe was on the court, to win a championship for this fan base for Kobe Bryant. So not only do you have the difficulties of just winning a championship in general, but then you have the added element of dealing with the pandemic, all the protocols that's required, and being isolated in a bubble for months. And you have the extra pressure of doing it for Kobe for the Lakers. So that influence just from the Lakers alone just tells you how powerful of a motivating factor Kobe Bryant was for the Lakers. But then all the other guys, from Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, superstars today who were inspired when Kobe was drafted in 1996 to pursue this game. So Kobe's impact, very much like Michael Jordan's, who hasn't played basketball in decades, but his shoes are still #1. Kobe's going to continue to have an impact on this league and on the sports culture in general because of both the longevity, but also just the people who followed, who were inspired by his play and his story.
You mentioned the impact that Kobe had on the city of Los Angeles and that fan base. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think sometimes people forget that these athletes are more than just what they are on the court. He was a big deal in that community.
Absolutely, from big to small. I was really fortunate to be able to spend time with Kobe during the duration of his career, covering him for ESPN, the magazine, as well as the Atlanta Journal-Constitution before I got to ESPN. And so I got to watch him mature, got to watch him go from someone who was trying to work so hard on himself because he wanted to be the best, to utilizing his platform in order to help others, whether it's through philanthropy, whether it's through taking time to make sure that he spoke to children who were waiting for autographs. But the one thing that I think, for me personally, that I will always remember Kobe for was his willingness to go from someone who was vilified for using an anti-gay slur in the basketball court to using his platform to being a gay rights advocate. When Jason Collins came out, the first openly gay NBA player came out, Kobe was among the first athletes to get to Twitter to congratulate him and encourage him. And remember, he was fined $100,000 for directing an anti-gay slur at a referee. But he did the work. He realized what he did was wrong, but he didn't stop there. He then used his platform to help others. And that was tremendous, not just for Los Angeles, which has a very visible LGBTQ community, but really globally, giving cover to those of us who are sports fans or not sports fans, but happen to be of the LGBTQ community. Seeing someone as beloved and as admired as Kobe Bryant say, "I stand for you," is something I personally will never forget.
Yeah, he used that platform for so many positive things. We also can't forget the fact that he made being a girl dad cool and aspirational. Everyone hashtagging
Absolutely.
Girl Dad after his death. LZ, thanks so much for being with us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. And ABC News Live will air an hour-long special, Kobe Bryant, Death of a Legend. That is tonight at 8, and it will air again at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.